Hi, fellow staycationers. It's Marilyn Wagner here, Stamping Creations with Marilyn, coming to you today to share my Merry Be Dazzling Christmas card. It is my turn once again to share a design with you that we have done for Stamping Staycation. And I'm going to be using the bedazzling paper that is on sale with the celebration until the end of September 2021, and making a slimline card, but it is smaller than what we normally have. So I'm going to turn the camera down and we can look at my desktop and get started with dimensions and what we're going to make. Okay, so here we are. This is the card I'm going to demo for you. It has a number of features, plus I've made an envelope for it because, as you can see, it is not your regular size card that we make. So starting with a piece of thick basic white cardstock that measures 6 by 6. So by magic of calculation, you can figure out the card is going to be 6 inches long by 3 inches. And we don't stock envelopes for that, so thus we're making an envelope for ourselves. We are going to use the Merry Snowflakes stamp set, which has some beautiful snowflake stamps, greetings, and it has coordinating dies. So you can see a lot of different snowflakes to cut out, snowflakes with borders. This one is just a border one. And what I like to do when I get my sets is do something like this so that I can see what everything's going to do. And you can see here's the edging that has the stitched edging around it. This is that border one that I talked about, so great for background strips, just to give a bit of detail on the back of cards. And today we're going to use this one, I think it was. Anyway, with our bedazzling paper is what we're going to work with. Going to use Merry Everything for the front, just like that one. And on the inside of that one, I have this greeting: may your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white. And that's for those of us who have snow for Christmas. So to start with, I'll just lay that maybe there where you can see it. We have a 6 by 6 piece of thick cardstock, and I use the thicker because it just is a bit sturdier, stands up better. So I'm going to bring in my scoreboard, and I am going to score it at 3 inches. Doesn't matter if you do it this way or this, because it should be 6 every direction. So you can see the scoring, and I have found that scoreboard is a great handy tool that I keep on my desk more often than not nowadays. So I'm going to fold it on that score line that I've made now, and I'm going to crease it with my bone folder. So that's the basis of my card. Then I have a piece of Night of Navy that is going to almost fill that layer. And it is 5 7/8 by 2 7/8. So you can see there's just a bit of a border. And that can go on right away. So no need to wait. I usually, when I do my cards, I do like to have everything ready. And I do have these pieces cut, so I'm feeling that everything is ready. I use the liquid, multi-purpose liquid glue for most of my adhering. And part of it is I want to have a little bit of time to move it around if I don't get it quite straight. I like to turn it over to burnish it. So next we need the layer that has the embossing and the stamping, and then our snowflakes. So really not a very difficult card to do, but I think it has some wow factor when you're done with it. So the basic white now, this is the thinner one, is 5 3/4 by 2 3/4. So 5 3/4 by 2 3/4. And you notice when it's on there, you're going to see just a little bit of that blue behind it. So what I did with it, I have this embossing folder, the Evergreen 3D one, and I'm going to bring in the cut and emboss machine. Try to place it where you can see what I'm doing with it. I'm going to run, as you can see on here, the treetops are embossed on there, and when I do a 3D one, I have written on it plate 4. So that means out of all these plates for my cut and emboss machine, you can see I have 1, 2, and 2 3s because we're going to do some cutting. But I also need plate number 4. So I'm going to remove 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to turn that so you can see it. I have just left my green foil in there because that's my kind of my demo piece, and lay my white near the top of the trees because I want to still be able to stamp my greeting on there. I always put the folded edge in first, and you know what? It's kind of backwards for me to crank it through, so I'm going to turn it. And when you're doing something like this, you don't ever want to force your machine. I can feel it's tight, but it's not unbearably tight that I can't make it work. So then, set that aside for a minute, and you can see that I have my treetops along there. So I am going to stamp with Night of Navy because it coordinates with this, my Merry Everything, which I have mounted on my block already. And I am going to place it above my trees. So kind of above the tree line. While I have that out, I am going to stamp my inside greeting, which I've also mounted on the block. So it's a matter of inking your stamp and placing it as close to straight as you can. And it's not this particular stamp set. It looks like you've inked it more here, but it's the way the stamp is made. Isn't that kind of a neat thing that they have done with that? To give you more dimension, I guess it would be called. So then for that layer, I'm just going to leave that open for a bit. I am going to use dimensionals. And our dimensionals come in 2 different sizes. We have small and large. And on this one, I'm going to use the large and use, oh, why that sheet is coming apart that way. I think I will use more than 4 just to make sure that it holds everything up the way I want it to. I feel I'm lucky enough to be able to peel those off with my fingers. I know some people do use their take your pick tool to catch the edges. And then I'm going to line that up, well, hopefully, with just that little bit of blue showing around the edges. I like to burnish from the back so that my hands are not on the inked surfaces. And we're ready for our snowflakes. Let's bring that one back in so you can see it. So, like I say, it doesn't take long to do this. So to do the snowflakes, I took the 3 that do not have the stitched edges, well, 3 of the 4, and I placed them on my bedazzling paper, And you can see I've cut out a few things on that piece already. So I'm going to just show you what I did with those, and I'll bring in the cut and emboss machine again. So for this layer, I do need, let's see if I can show you that. Layer 1, and it tells you all on your machine. If you don't have one of these, it's really laid out well. It tells you what you need. So in order to use with thin dies, which these are, I need 1, 2, and 2 3s. So I have 1 there, I have 2 there, and 3s, I have 2 of them that come with it. One that I definitely keep for cutting, for the bottom layer of the cutting. So I'm going to place it, I'm going to, it's actually got a bit of a curve, so I'm going to turn it over. And I'm going to lay my snowflakes on. And you may have noticed, let's see if I can, I do have some washi tape stuck on my cut and emboss machine here, and that's just to help the dies stay where they belong. Not quite so imperative when I'm doing just a layer of cardstock, designer paper, whatever it is, but it's really imperative if you stamped and you want to cut the outline of what you've stamped. So I'm going to run that through my cut and emboss machine, both directions. So I'm going through that way, then I'm going to come back this way. And then because this paper is just a bit thicker than what we normally do, I'm going to take my sandwich, my 2 number 3s, and I'm going to turn the whole thing over. And I'm going to run it through one more time. And all machines, we've been told that all of these machines are different pressures, different way they cut, different places. So this for me is just ensuring that I'm going to be cutting through, and hopefully when I get that all off of there, you can see that it has cut through all of them. So my next step would be take those pieces and peel off my washi tape, poke the little pieces out, and use my snowflakes on my card. But through the magic of video, television, whatever, I have 3 of them cut out already and poked out. Just want to show you before I go any further that with the mini cut and emboss machine, you also have all of the same plates. You have a 1, 2, actually you don't. You have 2 2s, a 3, and a 4. So a little bit different, but all the same idea. And because these are this size, you could, in effect, cut that out with the mini. If you, like any of these in this particular die set would fit if you only have the mini. So don't be discouraged by thinking if I buy the mini I can't do much. You can do a fair bit. So now that we have those, I'm going to place them however I want with a little bit of liquid glue on them. Now this would be another ideal place. If you've watched our videos that any of us have done, we often talk about the adhesive sheets. This would work. My only concern would be that it is another layer, and you're still building up that layer for another thickness to go through your cut and emboss machine. So I chose not to for this, and I'm going to just lay these a little bit different than my last card, just because there's no need to have everything identical. think I do want that one straight up and down. And it's just adding some sparkle to that card for it to go to your family or friends. And to add a little bit more bling, I did use on here, as well as I'm going to on this one, use the champagne rhinestones. And I'm using many different sizes. When you get those, there's 3 different sizes. I'm going to use the middle size. And they're adhesive, so you just pick them up, and usually we're going like this around our card and think, oh, that's a good place. I think I like one right there. Like that. We do, often you'll hear us talk about the rule of 3, or odd numbers, not necessarily 3, but odd numbers. So there's our card. So now you'll say, how do I get the envelope? Well, it's quite easy as well. The envelope size is, you cut 7.5 by 7.5, then bring in your scoreboard again, and we are going to score it. I'm trying to work in a small area. So I'm going to score at, and these are not in this right place, 3/4 and 6 3/4, which that one is. Now, which way do I want this to go? I want it to go that way, so those are, I want it to go this way. So this is my top and my bottom. So you can see, oh, maybe if I put it in the camera, that edge and that edge. Okay, so determine if your paper does have a direction to it. Then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to score it at 2 and 5 1/4. I'm going to take my paper snips, and I want to cut out these pieces so it's not bulky when I fold it over. You can see they're missing from that end. And I like to cut just a smidgen that way so that it's not binding when you fold that piece up. And I like to do the cutting before I do the folding on the score lines. And I want to send a big thank you out to Joanne from our Staycation team for showing how to do this envelope on her YouTube channel just before I was doing my sample, thinking, how am I ever going to figure out how to do an envelope for this? And lo and behold, Joanne the dear had done this, so it was quite easy for me to carry on and do my envelope. So now that I have those pieces cut, I want this on the outside of mine, not that one, obviously. You can see this paper is from the Beauty of the Earth paper, which is gorgeous paper, but the fall colors are not what I need for doing this. So I am going to fold on my score lines. I am going to use tear and tape because it's strong. And when it's an envelope, you want it to stay strong. And you'll notice on this one, I put tear and tape, but I haven't taken that layer off because when I put the card inside, I want it, well, I want to be able to put the card in before I do that. And to round the corners, I'm using this punch that has a corner rounder. So in my case, it does not matter which I'm going to put as the top piece, but it just rounds that corner, gives it kind of a finished look. Little tiny pieces of scrap. Then comes my tear and tape, which I tend to tape but not tear, because I find if I try to tear it, I somehow always seem to pull up some of the paper. So I'm going to put it on that layer there, and then I'm going to put it on here so that it sticks there as well. I'm going to put it on the bottom tab, the one that's not rounded, because I want it to be stuck down right away. And I will grab my take your pick tool for that, because I find it easiest to use it to remove that top layer. As well as this layer here. And there is my envelope. Oh, I need a piece of tear and tape, but don't take the don't take the paper off this one. Remember. So there is my layer to go with that card. So now I have both of my cards. So, as I said before, quite an easy card to put together. You could see using that if you were going to make a number of Christmas cards. Wouldn't take long. I have some alternatives to show you that I have used some more things from that set and a couple from different sets. So one of the other snowflakes from that set, just cut it out of the Bedazzling paper. I used the Season's Greeting stamp with gold embossing. And you can see the shimmer. I used the other verse on the inside, and you can see some of those words are dark again. And then I put the scrolly image on the envelope. So that one is a 4x4 card. So you would start with 8x4 and fold it in half, so it's a square card, but it does fit in our regular envelopes. Another one I did that same size, used that same Merry envelope. I used the other dies, and this one is the one that has the stitching around it. And you see these blue rhinestones are from one of the other embellishment sets we have. Holiday rhinestones. Holiday rhinestone basic jewels. So they're the same as our regular rhinestone ones, only they are colored and they matched my blue. Then I went to using black and white, and I used vellum and embossed in white, and put a couple of these snowflakes that come in a package like this. So I can just show you. They are wonderful snowflakes, which they are, but you punch them out, and they're white on the other side if you do want to color them, but they do have a shimmer on this side, as you can see by the lights that are with my camera there. And another one with the same Merry Christmas, just on the black. I really like the striking black and white. And of course, a little bit of a verse inside. If you are like me and send a lot of Christmas cards, you sometimes don't have a lot of words of your own that you want to put in there. And the other thing that I know you can do when we're talking of colored rhinestones like this one, you can also color our pearls or our rhinestones with the Stampin' Blends. And that's what I did there, thinking that maybe I would use the pearls on here. And then I discovered in my stash, like many of you, I have stashes of things, that I had these rhinestones and they worked perfectly. So I think that was all I had to share with you today. So hopefully you will go ahead and make some cards with envelopes. These 6x3 are just so cute. I love them, aren't they? And share them in the comments below. We'd love to see what you make with whatever you have on hand. Thanks. See you soon.